The Normal Avenue parking structure has caused an uproar among faculty and students at Chico State. The construction of the 4-story parking structure was voted against by 76% of students in this year's AS general election. Many students do not see the parking structure as useful because a high percentage of students live within 2 miles of campus. Certain students would prefer to focus on more sustainable projects instead of the parking structure.
I don't think it's really going to open up any more spaces. Like, I noticed that all throughout the day, mostly after 11, there's plenty of parking spaces. I don't think it's really that necessary because there's so many bikers and bike racks. Maybe making policies like you shouldn't be able to buy a permit if you're within 1 mile of campus, and making different options like that instead of building the parking structure because it's so expensive.
Many Chico State students are concerned about the financial side of the parking structure. Something students should know is that this project is possible because the majority of the money does not come from the state. The $14.2 million budget is made up from different sources of money. This includes non-state bonds, non-state campus reserves, and energy project funding. Unfortunately, the state dictates how this money is spent, and it cannot be spent to lower tuition or pay staff and faculty salaries.
There could have been a number of things like mass transit or those other types of things, but the university doesn't want to pay for it. And so they went with the one where they can force the students to pay for it. And it's not tuition, but you're having to pay for it. There's $14 million that's going to come out of students' pockets in increased parking permit fees. They don't tell you this, but they're going to double the fees to be able to pay for the parking structure. This parking structure is being built so they can build another couple buildings. And state law requires that if you're going to build a couple buildings, you're going to make the campus bigger, you have to say how you're going to get those people around. And they said, they could have said 100 different ways. They're going to improve the bike system. They're going to add more mass transit. They're going to, shuttle the class times around. They're going to do some stuff different. No. They went with this tried and true 20th century solution of a parking structure.
Concerns about the new parking structure have mostly revolved around Chico State students and faculty, but the Chico community will be affected by the new structure as well. Most local businesses have welcomed the new parking structure, believing it will free up the number of cars parked in the downtown area, which will in turn benefit their business.
So I know that this parking area right here helps us a lot. So from a business standpoint, having a whole bunch more students parked right there rather than riding their bikes or all over everywhere, they're going to see our name more. It's going to be good for us.
In addition to costs, some students are concerned about how the new parking structure will fit into Chico State's commitment to sustainability.
It also is incredible. It violates the basic promises that the president and the university made. They made a commitment to reduce greenhouse gases, to deal with climate change in a meaningful way, and they've come out with this. They don't have to paint that parking structure. It's dripping with hypocrisy. And to call ourselves a sustainable school after doing something like this is atrocious. We get an award a couple weeks after we start this thing. Nobody's paying attention. When President Zhang went down there and had to present the proposal to the Board of Trustees, one of the trustees said, that this was the first time in history that they had ever gotten letters from students against more parking. That this really was, in some sense, a historic movement.